So, FNAF Help Wanted 2 is finally here, and with it is much more of the story than I thought. If you haven't played or watched someone play the game yet, then beware of spoilers in this video. There will be many. Today I'm going to give you my theories on what I suspect Steel Studios is hiding from us in the game. Let's start off with Candy Cadet's story, mainly because this is the clearest thing to me in the entire game. Yes, Candy Cadet has returned, and this time he's brought another fascinating story of lore for us. In fact, he has two stories. The first story is about a family that missed the most important opportunity of their lives. I'll play it for you now to let you see what you think of it first before I give you my theories.
Now I will tell you a story about a family that missed the most important opportunity in their lives. It was a limited time offer that included a family-style pizza with all their favorite toppings. It also came with a side of fries, mozzarella sticks, extra large soft drinks and a toy surprise. It was only $49.99 while supplies lasted. They did not purchase the food and they all died.
I know what you're thinking. $49 for some food. Expensive, what a scam. And I'm British. But forget about that. Let's talk about the lore implications. I think that this story actually represents the Afton family. The pizza toppings and sides, such as the large fries in Candy's story, represent all the different side businesses that the Aftons had going on, such as Circus Babies, Fredbears, and Freddy Fazbears, and so on. However, when they missed the most important opportunity, that's when things go spiraling out of control. In the case of the story, they didn't purchase the food deal, so
they all died.
Similarly, when the Bite of 83 happened, that was one incident that the Aftons couldn't control, and it led to a chain reaction in which all members ended up with a terrible fate. Well, maybe all of them. The story gets a bit unclear when we talk about Mrs. Afton. But this is the story of the downfall of the Aftons as a whole. Now let's talk about his second story. I'll play it for you again and let you have a think before I ramble on about my theories.
Now let me tell you a story about a young woman who, when she was little, was led into a dark forest by a witch, and almost eaten. She had fallen for the friendly voice without discernment, and was led astray. She had escaped before being thrown into the oven, but would have a scar for the rest of her life. When she had grown, she sought revenge on the witch, and entered the forest again willingly, this time with the confidence of age and experience. She was greeted at the mouth of the forest by a young boy who offered to help guide her through the darkness. She welcomed the help, and followed the young boy over the river, through the jagged trees, and toward a small house. "Come," the boy said. "Rest here before killing the witch." The young woman was tired, and would kill the witch in the morning. She followed the boy into the house. The oven door closed. The witch would finally have her meal.
This story was clearer to me. However, due to others having mixed opinions, I'm kind of stuck in the middle now. When I first heard this story, I instantly thought it was referring to Cassie, but others have argued it could be referring to Vanessa. I'm still going with Cassie though, and I'll update if I've turned out to be wrong. Let's look at all the metaphors in this story. The protagonist is, well, Cassie, and the witch I would say the mimic, but others would likely disagree. She fell for the friendly voice, so my mind instantly thought of the fact that the mimic had his whole fake Gregory act throughout most of Ruin. Cassie escaping would be her running into the elevator, and the mark that scarred her for the rest of her life? Well, when Roxy fought against the mimic, she probably thought that meant that she was destroyed, or everything else that happened to her in Ruin. However, after this point, the story gets tricky, because we don't exactly know what happens to Cassie after. But we can assume that if Cassie escapes in the next chapter, she could return as an adult and try to finish off the mimic. But wait, I've had a new thought as I'm recording. What if the protagonist in the story is referring to Cassidy instead? She got lured by Afton's friendly voice and then stuffed into Golden Freddy. When she returns to stop Afton, she captures him in Ultimate Custom Night. But that's not the end of it. There's now a runaway mimic problem she needs to deal with. She has the original Afton being tortured. What can she do against his memories? It's just a replica in essence, so she tries to destroy the mimic. And whatever happens after that, we don't know yet. It might be some really well hidden foreshadowing. And the boy in this case could be the crying child. He might have lured Cassidy into thinking she's destroying Afton, or the mimic, when in turn, he's just lured her into destroying herself. That's enough of Candy Cadet for now. But another thing that Help Wanted 2 confirms for us is the endings to Security Breach. The Princess Quest ending has to be canon, because Princess Quest 4 is clearly playable in this game. So for everyone who says that Burntrap is a canon ending, it's not! One surprise that I thought wouldn't be included in the game at all was the presence of everybody's favourite brainwashing computer virus, glitchtrap. Now, if you know anything about me, then it's the fact that glitchtrap is my favourite FNAF character, hands down. I am obsessed, and nothing else has come close to being my favourite, so this was a very pleasant surprise indeed. Initially, I thought, like many others, that Princess Quest 3 killed off glitchtrap, but as it turns out, it didn't. It only severed his connection with Vanessa, and at the end of the game, when Vanny crushes poor glitchtrap with her bare hands, that's getting her revenge for him controlling her. It's just so sad that he was killed that way. Now, let's move on to who we play as in Help Wanted 2. Even before the game was released, there was already plenty of speculation that we'd play as Cassie's dad. Well, I am happy to confirm that this is true, and there's actually a few reasons for this. For starters, all the marketing says that you're the last human worker in the Pizzaplex, so it's not a staff bot. Secondly, Carney, the character that we all thought would be named Righty for some reason, says that we look like we could have a kid. That points out that we're playing possibly as a parent. Now, for the most prominent piece of evidence that we have. The Vanny poster telling you to take off your mask depicts a blue figure taking off the mask. In Princess Quest 4, we see that blue guy as our sprite, the one playing the arcade game. That confirms that the blue guy generally represents the main player in the entirety of the game. We can go even further by pointing out that the character for Cassie's dad is blue, Bonnie is blue, Cassie's dad's favourite animatronic was Bonnie, so it only makes sense for his sprite to be blue as well. Ruin also makes it clear that Fazbear Entertainment didn't want to give up on the Pizzaplex, even in its ruined state. Cassie's dad was sent to do maintenance on the ruined animatronics to see how repairable they were. This is shown through the ruined Roxy makeover minigame. We're literally the reason why Roxy wears a mask in Ruin, and so on. Chica looks in pretty good shape in Help Wanted 2 compared to Ruin, but she loves pizza, so she went a bit more aggressive and turned out to be the rotten thing that we see in Ruin. And the reason Monty wasn't checked up on by Cassie's dad was because he's literally irreparable. Or, you know, Cassie's dad knew that he destroyed Bonnie, so just decided to leave him to rot in revenge, which is actually pretty funny, I guess. Let's quickly talk about Faz Force. Where did it come from? What has it got to do with absolutely anything? Well, it's clearly a FNAF parody of Voltron, which was a series that came out in 1984. Yes, the 80s again. This also helps us prove that we play as Cassie's dad again. We know that from Ruin that he was an 80s merch collector, and Faz Force seems to be an 80s toy series. It all makes sense. And why it triggers the ending to the game? Because it's something personal to us as the player. And to end this video, we're going to talk about why we're playing as Cassie's dad is so important. The entirety of Help Wanted 2 is there to explain why Cassie's dad went missing and never returned. He was on a work trip, which was the game, and it directly leads up to Ruin. What's the true ending of Help Wanted 2? It's the one where glitchtrap comes out of the charging pod, or at least his hand does. And the reason that this is probably the true ending is because we see the action of Cassie putting on the mask. It's also the same moment that glitchtrap went into the mask. It's been tampered with. The chip implement that Helpy gives us at the start of Ruin, that was glitchtrap. I think that's enough content for one video. we've covered a lot in today's video, and I think that it's enough to explain the entire game unless something new pops up. I will probably do a video on the memory plushies eventually, but I just couldn't fit them into this video. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe, and you can also join my Discord server by following the link in the description. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.